Hey everyone, this is FIDE Master Kostya Kavutskiy here for Chess.com, and today I wanted to show you guys a sweet chess game played by the super talented, super GM, wonderkid, Magnus Carlsen. So everyone knows about Carlsen now, since his rating is now, something like 2840, and he basically wins almost every tournament that he takes part in. So today I wanted to show you guys, I think maybe the first game that really put him on the radar. This was like his first big impressive win over a grandmaster that really was kind of a hint of what we now expect of him, greatness. So this game takes place back in 2004, and here Magnus is playing a player named Sipke Ernst, who is definitely a grandmaster now, and I believe he was a grandmaster back in 2004 as well. And the way this tournament works in YConZ is that they have the C group, the B group, and the A group. And then if you win the C group, you qualify for next year's B group. And then if you win that, then you qualify for next year's A group. And obviously the A group is considered to be one of the strongest super tournaments, all year round. So this is back in 2004, so Magnus was quite young, definitely maybe a young teenager. And here we see him playing one of the main lines of the Caro-Kann defense. So far this is all standard, both sides are just developing their pieces. Now white castles long, bishop e7, knight e4, queen a5. d8, and now queen e2. This position, I believe the players are still following theory here. This position has definitely been reached before, and the typical play here is pretty straightforward. White's going to try to attack black's king, possibly using his g-pawn, advancing it to g4 and g5, trying to open files on the king side, and black is going to try to get some counterplay either in the center or against white's king on the queen side, with moves like c5, maybe queen b6, maybe knight d5 at some point, and so on and so forth. So the line here is considered generally solid for black, but if black messes up, then white can definitely get a very powerful attack. And here black played this move c5, which is a pretty serious mistake that Magnus exploits quite amazingly. So instead of c5, it was better to play something like either queen b6 or knight d5, bishop c1, and then c5. In both cases, black gets a playable position and life goes on. So here after c5, Magnus found the very strong move knight g6. So to be fair, this is not a new idea. This tactic has definitely been seen before. And the point is that after black takes this knight, white takes on e6, king h8, and now h takes g6. And after this simple move hg, white is basically just threatening to sacrifice on h6 and checkmate the black king. So going back for a second, knight g6, this is actually a tactic that has been seen before in different games. Not in this exact position, but in very similar Caro-Kann positions, with this idea of taking on e6 and then sacrificing on h6 and mating the king. So we can't say that Magnus just came up with the sacrifice all on his own. Very likely that he just saw this idea before, put it in his memory, and knew to look for it in this game. which is still very impressive because not only do you have to store, dozens and dozens of middle game ideas in all kinds of openings in order to unleash them in your own games, but also you have to calculate the variations out for yourself as well, because every position is different and you have to be able to find all the different tricks and nuances of each individual position. So here it was definitely best for black not to accept the sacrifice. He should have just gone rook e8, and then after knight takes e7, rook e7. Well, white would still be a little bit better, but obviously black is not getting mated right away and can still fight on. But after accepting the sacrifice, Magnus quickly proved that white's position is completely winning. By the way, here queen takes e7 would be a serious mistake because of knight d5. And black is probably keeping their extra piece. So hg is very strong because now this move, bishop takes h6, is practically unstoppable. So knight g8 was played. If you guys want, I recommend pausing the video and trying to find the winning continuation for yourselves. Otherwise, we'll just move on. Bishop takes h6. And obviously this had to be very accurately calculated by Magnus, and then clearly he was able to do this, and I think this was really what amazed everyone, was because this is not an easy piece of calculation to make, but he finished the game so precisely that it was very impressive. After g takes h6, he played rook takes h6. So knight takes is forced, and now queen takes e7. And notice that, all these moves after capturing on g6 have been forced, which, makes me believe that Magnus probably calculated quite a bit of lines here, maybe even all the way to the end, right, before making the sacrifice. So takes, king h8, takes on g6. Knight g8 is the only way to protect the h6 square. And now, after these moves, white is threatening queen h7 mate. So black only has one reply here. Knight f7. And now simply g takes f7. And I believe this is probably where Magnus stopped his calculation before playing knight g6 and realized that this position was completely winning for white. The point is that, the queen and this pawn are so strong that black's king is just not going to survive. The immediate threat is simply queen f6 check or queen e5 check followed by rook h1 mate, among a bunch of other checks and stuff, like queen g5 is a threat followed by rook h1 mate. And essentially black here really has no defense. So here Ernst played king g7, and now rook d3. Very strong. White's just going to bring his rook over to the g file and mate black. Rook d6, rook g3 check, g6, queen e5 check, king takes f7, queen f5 check. Now king e7, rook e3 check, and black is certainly getting mated in the next few moves, or at least white is going to win, both rooks and then have a crushing attack. And instead he played rook f6. And now Magnus found the very strong queen d7 mate. And back in 2004, I think this game, really created a sensation, which makes it kind of important to know for general chess history. It's kind of nice to know the first brilliancies of all the amazing chess players, Fischer, Kasparov, and Carlsen. Thanks a lot for listening, and I'll see you around on Chess.com.